Hello, Susan Gunnar.
Hello, Carolyn.
Welcome to my cafe style conversation, which I started in 2011. And the reason I started that was because I wanted to interview people who were inspirational and people who were from different fields in terms of whether they were sporting people, theatrical people, doctors, nurses, actors. So anybody that's creative to a certain extent, but inspires others. And so I've been very lucky to come across really inspirational people. And that leads me into the moment that I traveled to London Rail with Brian Rose, who was obviously the founder of London Rail. And I had wanted this moment of clarity in terms of wanting to speak, to inspire. It had been a dream of mine for a very long time. And in fairness to Brian, it was Brian that really pushed me to the point of saying, it's about time you did it. So there I was in London Rail, in a room full of other inspirational people who were giving their speeches. And I kept glancing around the audience and people who were listening to us. And your, I would say, silhouette was very much in my vision. And I kept thinking, what a mysterious lady, what a mysterious silhouette you made. So that was the first impression. Little did I know that a couple of hours later, when we had finished our speeches and we were graduating and celebrating, that I would come across you outside on a street in London. And I met you along with two other colleagues of yours on London Rail. And it was from there on in that conversation developed with you. So thank you very much for accepting to do this interview and a conversation that will develop as we go on. So what I'd like to do, first of all, is just to say to you, every day, and I'm sure you're the same, I will give affirmations and write them, and the gratitude journal is something that I will fill. And in your case, which is why I want to do it now, I said when I came back from London Rail that I was very grateful to have come across Brian Rose. I'm very grateful to have come across Susan Gunnar. And the reason for you in particular was because you, I felt at home with you. I felt an equal with you. I felt that you were inspirational in how you behaved. Your behavior throughout the whole 3 days graduation was quite fantastic. You were not somebody that was threatening or intimidating. You were somebody, for me, that added mystery. And that mystery sort of grew. So what I'd like to ask you, Susan, as a first question is, what exactly happened when we met that night? What was that meeting and what did it mean to you?
Thank you so much, Carolyn. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. I'm so grateful that you're having me, and I would love to have this conversation with you. Yeah, I am part of London Rail. Right now I am one of the team leaders for the accelerator courses, and on the course that you have taken, Speak to Inspire, I was in the background as the person that would give the feedback to the students, participants. And I didn't have a big role. I was just in the background watching everyone's activities and just step in where I need to step in, and kind of my whole role was about bringing people up and give them the positive feedback so they can feel like they are on the right path, and just support them finding their own way and their own power and their voice. And it was a massive learning for all of us. It was my first accelerator with the Speak to Inspire, and the team was fantastic. Your group was amazing, and because my role wasn't so in the front line, I had to, of course, stay in the background as a shadow. And then we met at the graduation. We were announced there. And you guys really embraced everyone, because there was 2 other friends of mine who were doing the same job, shadowing. And you guys were so loving, and you accepted us, and we had an amazing weekend until that night. We finished the event, went down for drinks, and then we had another gathering downstairs. Then some of your group, I think they said, oh, let's go and carry on with the night and stay together. But that moment, I don't know how, we started talking. Then we all started walking together on the pavement. I have no idea how it happened. I stopped. We started talking like as if we knew each other from lifetimes. And then conversation got deeper, and I found myself standing in one point and not even thinking about the rest of the group. So they took off. The most interesting part is we had my friend Alex and Salman standing with us as well. 2 of the boys, they're from my Life Accelerator class last year, and a really good friend of mine. I found myself, all 4 of us just stood there talking and exchanging ideas. And then, but me and you, we were like, you know, we just didn't want that conversation to stop. And then that moment we realized everyone else was gone, and my messages started, you know, coming in saying, where are you guys? And I'm like, okay, they're far off now. And I looked at me, I said, I might as well just go home now. And I said to you, would you mind, like, do you want me to take you to your friends? And you were like, no, I'm good. I'll just go back to your hotel. And it's so interesting. We started walking to my car. We said bye to our friends, of course, Sam and Alex. And then me and you started talking. And I felt like I wanted to tell you my whole life story. And that's rarely happens to me. Like, rarely, honestly. Exactly what you said. You described it. You know, I couldn't describe it any better than you. Like, I felt home suddenly. And then we walked to my car, sat in my car, and your place was literally a few minutes away from the place. And when I came to your place and parked the car, and you looked at me and you said, when I look at you, you said, I never forget that. I don't think I will ever forget that in my life. You said to me, I see this beautiful woman, but when I look at your eyes, I see a lost soul. It was like, oh, that was so powerful. And I think you knew why that was. And we started talking, and I told you about my story, how I was, you know, the relationship with my mom. And then you told me that unless I talk to my mom, unless we have this conversation with my mom and make peace, that I will never find my way, and I will stay being a lost soul. And that was so powerful, Carolyn. That night, you literally hold that mirror and confronted the very thing that I've been pondering on, because I've been pondering on having this conversation with my mom for years. And I've had kind of small conversations here and there, but I never actually had the full courage to sit down and make it a specific event with her to really go through and make peace with our, you know, whatever happened in the relationship that we have. But when you said that to me, this was like the last call. I said to okay, this is the last call. I've got to do this. And same weekend, I did that. I've specifically planned it out, arranged it, made sure my mom was alone, and then I opened up the conversation. But until that moment, I imagined that I will tell her how I feel, and then she would do the same. We will probably cry out, and then we'll make a peace. It didn't happen that way. Little did I realize that the moment I opened the conversation up, my mom shut down, literally like frozen, had no words to say. And then I thought to myself, okay, stay humble, you know, stay grounded, because I realized that I still have so much to learn, like so much to learn, because why did I think it was going to be that easy? This was a, an ongoing issue for decades. What made me think that it was going to be that one event or one session or that one moment with her that was going to fix everything? It's never the case, and it wasn't the case. But I made the decision that I will carry on. I will carry on talking to her every time I get a chance, and build up and, kind of build her up to this. Slowly help her to open up, because I am very aware that there's a lot of stigma and shame and guilt attached to this. She feels bad, so therefore she's shut down. Seeing this like really humbled me, and it was a massive learning lesson. And you are one of the person so important, that you helped me, literally push me to make this happen sooner, and I'm so grateful for that. Thank you.
That was something that I felt was needed for you to shift. So it was the shift that you bring about in your own time. For me, the shift has happened, and from what you have explained there, that should be something that we all understand, because we all have a story. Everyone has a story. But the reality of it is that you've gone through a learning curve, you've gone through training, you've had an education, you are developing and are continuing your education now, because you're studying psychology. So in effect, you have progressed in a way that your mother would never even have the opportunity for. So there is a huge level of development in your case, and in her case, you said the words you used were, she had stayed the same and she shut down. But then you'd had the toolbox to be able to get to this point of talking to her. So take it from there. What would be your next step for that?
Yeah, from that learning, I realized that because it's such a deep and ingrained trauma, and these feelings, I think instead of setting a scene and then trying to not confront her, I wasn't going to confront her anyway. It was going to be all positive and kind of slowly bring her up to talk to me. But now I realize this is not going to happen, and the learning from that is, instead of trying to do the same thing again, I decided I want to spend more time with her, like a shopping trip, or maybe a yoga session together, or maybe watch a movie together, so that spend more alone time, where then I can slowly help her to come out more, and then hopefully eventually she will open up. I know she will, because I don't want her to live longer with the same feelings that I've been carrying all my life, and she needs to have a closure just like I do. And I think this way will be the best way, because now that I know what to do, like you said, I have the tools to go round this situation and make the best of this. And yes, it might take long, but it's okay. I'm patient, and and I value everything that we have together now, because at the end of the day, she's literally given all that unconditional love to my boys. I have 2 boys, and she's just been there from the start, from day one, that she's literally goes all in for them, and she does everything for them, and she's just there. She's been there for them more than I have, and that goes to show that she's always tried to make it up to me with so many other ways. And even knowing this, it humbles me, and I'm so grateful. So I think we started a good journey with her right now. So I'm really happy where we are at with this.
You've created an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you look at what you've talked about, you've not had a mum in your life for a very, very long time when you needed that motherly direction and affection. But now you're grasping that opportunity to bond again. So it's a new kind of getting together and getting to know about each other.
Yeah.
It's a new chapter.
Yeah.
And what is particularly, which is why I wanted this conversation, and I'm so glad we're having it, it's never too late. And what's good about it is that you have given the olive branch.
Yeah.
She, in her own time, will need time. And whatever comes from that will be bringing you both closer together.
Mm-hmm.
And many people don't ever want that opportunity, or don't ever have that opportunity, or don't even get that opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah. While you've talked about this, I know that during our conversations, we've talked about self-awareness. And what I'd like you to explain to people listening to this conversation is what self-awareness means to you.
Yeah.
Over
Yeah.
to you.
Yeah, thank you. Self-awareness is something I've been pondering on for at least more than 5 years now. And unfortunately, us human beings, we're very unique in the way we evolve in terms of spiritually. And I never forget, I read this quote from Carl Jung a long time ago where he says, "You deserve the life you have." And that really was, for me, when I heard that, it kind of hurt my feelings a little bit because I wasn't in a good place. Mm-hmm. My life wasn't, I didn't have that fulfilled life to be proud of. So that sentence is a bit harsh, and I know why this could really hurt people's feelings, because what he's trying to say is that unless you make the unconscious conscious, you call it a fate, and then, and that will direct your whole life. It's exactly what happened to me. I literally lived decades in a victim mode because I was abandoned by my parents. They immigrated to UK when I was at the age of 6, and I was left with my grandparents and my grandmother, who was mentally unstable, and she was a very difficult lady. She was a very hurt and full of hate, full of resentment. She's a very, very hard person to be with and be around. So I grew up literally learning her perception of life. Her reality became my reality, and this affected my whole life, and of course my decisions and everything, until I suffered a massive hit the rock bottom. It was so painful in terms of emotionally, financially, in relationship wise, everything, all in one. And like I said before, I think humans, this is not a good way to learn, but apparently we learn more when we suffer in pain, emotional pain. And this is exactly what happened to me. And it was almost like a break or make moment. And luckily I took the make and I started looking in, and I've been pondering on why my life turned out this way, and why do I have to suffer emotionally? Why me? And all these questions. Then went on to self-development path, started doing my internal work and my journey. And now at this point I realized that this is the self-awareness. The term is so huge, and a lot of people are confused. They confuse it with enlightenment, they confuse it with consciousness, spiritual enlightenment most of the time. I know a lot of people think of it as spiritual enlightenment. However, it's nothing to do with that, because again, there's loads of misconceptions around this, and people, even with spiritual enlightenment, people think that spiritual enlightenment is when you become so enlightened and powerful, you become the superhuman. In fact, it has nothing to do with it. It has nothing to do with that, because I know this from first-hand experience. For me, self-awareness, you want to call it spiritual enlightenment, consciousness, all of these terms comes down to one thing: and that is to understand the root of my suffering, root of my experiences and my decision, that whatever is affecting me now, to look behind, look inside more like it, and understand the root of this, where they're coming from. And that is self-awareness. For me, that is self-awareness. Understanding why you react the way you do, why, what sort of patterns we have, self-sabotaging, limiting beliefs. And most of these are not even a word. We don't think of them as terms in language. They're feelings. Like, we have limitations. We feel in a certain way with certain people. We make decisions based on these feelings. Again, these are all self-limiting beliefs. And for me, this was like life-changing. Once I got that, then I started doing deeper inner work. Again, inner work is probably one of the most painful journeys that anyone can take, because it means we have to confront ourselves with our dark side, the darkness, everything. It's not easy, but it's so rewarding. So rewarding. This is what happened in my case. So once we understand the root of our suffering and the root of the things that we do, why we do, and understand our family dynamics, understand our grandparents' lives, their behaviors, the behavior patterns, and their parents, and so on. If we can understand this whole family dynamics and the way we behave, and that's self-awareness. And this was a game changer. Once I got this, Carolyn, seriously, I became much more patient with people, because once I understand that, you stop judging, you stop blaming others, you completely have a compassion and patience for other people that are going through the same thing, and you look at them through a complete different eyes.
Beautifully said. I can identify with you because I have been in a very dark place, similarly, all to do with what I call dysfunctional parenting. And with that being in a dark place, there is the lowest of the low point of all, in which it takes a lot of courage to reach out and say, enough is enough. I need to pull myself out of this, and how do I do it? And luckily, because we are dynamic people, you are able to tap into what I call your network. And I was surrounded by lecturers, I was surrounded by physicians. And so for me, it took me back to university. And similarly, you're going back to university because you're developing and because you're progressing. And that, I think, happened that night. I identified with you, I empathized with you, I felt at home with you, because you'd been in a place that I had been in. And therefore, we had respect for one another, having gone through that place.
Yeah.
The next part to my question from there would be how I've looked at your website, the warriorlove.co.uk.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love the tagline that you've got there, which is the aligned is the new hustle. The aligned is the new hustle. Can you develop that and talk about the birth of that website and so on?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my website was born last year after my business accelerator with Brian, London Leo. And basically what it is that I provide holistic approach to therapy and coaching. So I am literally looking after people who had childhood adversity, just like myself, and I know where they are at, and I know that I can really share my story with them, and I can really maybe hopefully kindle a light to their darkness, because I know how hard it is to be alone while you go through that. Therefore, Warrior of Love was born. Warrior of Love, the name sounds a bit kind of mainstream, but it means compassion. It means that all humans, we're all here to walk each other home, right? Like you did for me, we hold each other's hand. It's not, I don't believe in like we teach each other anything. We don't have to, because everything is inside. And I use that on my website as well. It is a quote from Helen Keller. She said, what you're looking for is not out there, it's in you. And she was blind, and she managed to learn about 5-6 languages, and she managed to paint, and she managed to sing and speak. So it goes to show, like, with courage, there's unlimited power in all of us. But unfortunately, with these experiences and childhood trauma, adversity, whatever experiences we have, we cannot tap into that power. It's taken me decades to get to understand this even, and I know that I still have so much work to do, and I'm so excited to be on this journey, actually. That's why my website and my content out there and my clients out there are growing with me. We are all doing the same thing. We're growing together. And aligned is the new hustle. For me, is so important, because to speak my truth, it took me so long that I appreciate it so much now. I was scared to be who I wanted to be. I was constantly worried about other people's opinion, my parents, my family, my social environment. What did they think of me? I wanted to be the person in charge of everyone's perception of me. How wrong was I? Little did I know that it was only going to hold me back from who I meant to be. And that's what it means to be aligned. Aligned is the new hustle. It means aligned with your own truth, aligned with who you're meant to be. And that's what I would like to represent with my work as well.
Beautiful work. And so much so that, and I have huge respect for what I've read and how I followed your development with London Real, that I saw, having written a 6-week module for American Real, and that's obviously owned by Roger Brooks. He had asked me to actually write a training program for him, and I did. And I've called it Living Your Purpose in 2018. And when I went through the different weeks, the 6 weeks, it came to a part where I was asking whoever attended that course to express themselves in whatever comfortable way they felt necessary. And one of them was about telling your story. Now, I invited you to talk about your story, which you have done so honestly and beautifully. The next thing I would say to you is, because of your story, I would like to invite you to actually take that video, which is what this video link is about, and then link it with finding your purpose. So I've got 2 statements here, and I'd like your opinion about the 2. And the first one says, to find our gift and to give it away. So that's something I read on, I think, again, on your website or one of your lines. So explain what you think that means. Tell us what that says.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Recently, I had an amazing connection and amazing experience with another London Real class, which is a life accelerator. I was more on the frontline role, and I was the team. I was in a position of team leading for 20 beautiful people around the world, 20 of them. And I grew really close to one of them specifically, and we became really good friends. He's also a coach. He comes from, that place, that spiritual, humble, kind of really healing place. And he said to me, we had a few chats with him, and he said to me, I've noticed one thing with you. And he said, I would like to get to know you a bit more better, because what impresses me with you, he said, is that you are always there. And when you are in the team chat, and when you come in and, you know, you talk, you make people feel good. It's almost like having a mother figure in the group, having that reliable mother, unconditional love and support. And he said, I never experienced that before. That was the biggest aha moment for me, because what he's actually saying to me is that that very thing that I was deprived of, the very thing as a child, the unconditional love from a mother, I was giving it to everyone. So that quote resonates with me so much. The purpose of our life is to find our gift and then give it away. So what, you know, the adversity that I'm thinking, the trauma that I had to go through as a child, not having that mother around me, and not even any female, you know, motherly figure around me to give me the unconditional love. Now I became the advocate of the same thing that I was not able to have. And people can feel that, and they can tell me this. Only now that I've realized this is what I was doing. And that ties in with finding the purpose, is to finding your gift and then give it away. So now I feel like this is my passion, this is my gift, and I'm willing and I'm ready to give it away. I want to give this unconditional love to the people that who need it. And that's how this is all came about.
Brilliant, thank you. The other line I'd like you to give your opinion about is the purpose of life is a life, to live a life of purpose.
I love that. I love that. I would say purpose of life is to live. That is absolutely true. In my case, I think not long ago, again, I read an article on this, and the people that, you know, the happiness is like very mainstream now. Everyone wants to be happy. This is like in the West, you know, now people always talking about the happiness and how to get it, where to find it, what to do. And this is so true, Carolyn, that they did this massive study, and people that who are the happiest are the ones that have a purpose, that on a mission to help each other, to help others, or, you know, to give love or whatever, the support. Those people are the most happiest in their life, in their relationship blossom, their careers, you know, pop, they have very prosperous life. This is not a coincidence. And that probably ties in with what you just said, because those are the folks that live with a purpose. And I think that's so important to have.
Nice. I got to a place a couple of years ago where I realized that throughout my career, so we're talking about the professional career, that certain people were influential. And I don't know whether, you know, it was a question that was prompted, but I sat down and I thought through everybody that had figured in my career, and I picked on at least 3 people. And I gathered, some of them had passed on, but I gathered their documents and letters they'd written, and I gave gratitude. So it was part of my gratitude journal. Mm-hmm. Because without those figures, I wouldn't be who I am today, or I wouldn't be in the place I am today. So my question to you is, who would be your role models? Mm-hmm. Who would be your role models?
Yeah, well, you are my biggest inspiration. You're one of my role models, where I can, you know, be close to and touch, and you're there, and I'm just so grateful to cross paths with you. My other role models are Brian Rose, because he is, well, he did this documentary with Dan Pena recently, and he talked about shadow. Everybody has their own shadow. He is my shadow, because he is the side of me that I would like to be, not my default, you know, personality, but I need his kind of personality so that I can be successful in what I do, and then I can reach out to more people. So Brian Rose is definitely one of my role models. But then again, I love people like Carolyn. I love Dr. Gabor Mate and Dr. Bezo. These guys, they spent their whole life researching attachment and childhood adversity, and they've done spent whole of their lives on studying how the attachment or healthy or disconnected people grow up to be, children grow up to be, and so on. So they inspire me. I've been lucky enough to train with both of them, and basically, yeah. And unreachable inspiration, I would say people like Nelson Mandela, the great guys, they're always my inspiration. But at my reach is people that I can literally be around with and go to their workshop and talk to them. Do you know what, Carolyn, in my life, I think a lot of people can inspire me. A lot of people inspire me every day. I think having that mindset is the key, because I could be talking to even a younger person, a lot younger person with no life experience, and I still get inspired. So inspiration for me is really, you can find it anywhere. Yes. So yeah, that's how I feel.
I agree. With your sort of progress to date with London Real, because you are, you call it a team leader, is that how you pronounce the position?
Yeah, team leader. Mm-hmm.
You've made massive strides in a very short period, and I know some of those members that are attending Accelerator, and I know how they rate you highly, and you're smashing it most of the weeks. So I can imagine how pleased Brian Rose must be. So looking at where you are now, so it being in the now, and looking at your journey, where would you say your biggest investment has been?
Myself, and the days and the nights and months of the months where I came to points where I wanted to quit, but I'm glad I never did. I've gone through some serious self-training, development, discipline, lots of inner work. I isolated myself for months. I took time out, didn't go out, didn't do anything. I literally immersed myself in learning, in, following people that have done this, have literally come out the other end. I also love Carolyn, Marianne Williamson, all of these women, Oprah Winfrey. I'm just literally a person that would find an inspirational person.
I mentioned earlier that I was writing a training online program for American Real, and on week 5, module 5, the whole program embraces storytelling, and I immediately thought of you and your beautiful story. And so my question to you would be, your story is such an amazing one. What would you say when somebody else listening to this, in terms of wanting to do the same, what encouragement would you give that person for that story to be told?
Yeah, okay. That's really interesting, actually. Because when I started out, I didn't think of it in these terms. I didn't think I was going to tell my story. In fact, telling my story was the last thing on my mind, and not realizing that this was going to make the most impact. So now I know that it's so important to focus on the person's individual story, because stories connect us and they are so powerful. And especially on social media, online, it's so powerful that, hold on, I'm sorry. Yes, stories for me is so powerful in connecting with people, and it needs to be told, because sometimes people, they don't know what it's like unless someone has the courage to talk about it. Then it gives them the permission to do the same, and it's the only way we connect. deeply with other people. And for that reason, I really encourage everyone to do it. And you said, what would be the thing that can encourage them? It's scary, of course, because there's a lot of fear around it, and there's also, you probably think that you will be judged. Yes, there's that fear around it too. But when you come to that level, I think you don't care anymore, because in my sort of mission, reaching out to those people who are suffering in the dark, hopeless, they are far more important than my own petty, resistance to not telling my story or listening to what other people has to say. So the leverage, for me, I put that so high, and it's so important for me to help then hold myself back. So that's why it's very important to tell stories.
Yes. Massive comment there about connectivity and the importance of being connected, because we all are. And that storyline goes through us all in one way or another. What if somebody listening again to this wanted that encouraged to step forward? What kind of tools would you say are important for them to have?
In terms of
Storytelling
tools, I think one of my favorite and the most I use is that I seriously tell my story from my heart. So I literally don't hold back, because the moment you try to change it or try to make it look better, or basically what I'm trying to say is that tell it as it is. Yeah. Because authentic, that's, if you're authentic enough, people will pick it up and it resonates with everyone. And nowadays, even online, on video, like, people can really feel whether you're genuine or not. It's just intuitive, we all have this innate ability. That's why it needs to be authentic. It has to come from the heart for true connection.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you for being gracious in finding your gift and giving it away.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Susan.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for this opportunity, Carolyn, and thank you for inspiring me.
It's been an amazing conversation. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.